Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Newcastle podcast. And I believe it is our first one in 2025. So, Happy New Year! Happy New Year. I hope you all had a lovely Christmas with your family and friends, and you're now brand spanking New Year 2025. So, I hope you all had a great time celebrating. And I am joined today by two guests who you've all heard before, but it's none other than Joe. Hello, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Are we on the New Year, New Me trip?
No, it's definitely not New Year, New Me. No,
New
not
Year, same old us.
not after what just happened before this. And I am also joined by Michael. Happy New Year, Michael. How are you?
Happy New Year, doing all right, and I will just give an apology to everyone that was expecting a crossover Thursday to go out yesterday. Spurs dropped the ball, simple as, and they'll lose the ball quite a lot at the weekend when we smash them. So, crossover Thursday prediction, it was going to be Newcastle spanking Tottenham anyways, so you're not missing anything.
New Year, same old Spurs.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just joking.
Let's hope so.
Well, let's hope so, actually, yeah. Right, it's lovely to see you both, and thank you for obviously joining me. So, as it is a brand new year, I took some inspiration from our Christmas special that we all done, where we had a laugh and read beautifully adverts out. Went really
Some
well.
better than others.
Sometimes, yeah. I
Mine
thought
wasn't very good.
I'll take some inspiration from Kev, where he done a bit of a segment of what the Newcastle players would be asking for Christmas. So I think, whilst this is the first episode of the new year, we can start with the New Year resolution hype and what we think, if any, what players have set New Year's resolutions. Obviously, for all the listeners, we are going to do a preview of the Tottenham game, but I thought this would be quite a fun thing to kick it off. So I will come to Michael first. I'm hoping you guys have all had a thought to think about it. Who do you think in the team has set a New Year's resolution, and more importantly, do you think they'll stick to it?
Always putting me on the spot first. Let's see how it is.
Sorry.
No, I think there's quite a few players that will have probably set a New Year's resolution to have at least stayed fit for 2025. And I think, you could count Callum Wilson in that, Matt Target, Emil Kraft. Miley, maybe, after his injury last year. He doesn't want injuries to derail his career. Lloyd Kelly, probably. In fact, half the squad.
I was gonna say,
Everyone who was injured in 2024 is sitting there going, please don't happen again. But if I have to give another one as well, I would say probably Joe Linton to stop trying to take people's heads off.
That's literally who I was going to say.
Against. Well, sorry, I'll say Bruno the same. We all know Arsenal love bringing up Bruno elbowing whoever it was. I think it was Kai Havertz or someone in the back of the head. So, a little bit less wrestling, a little bit less mixed martial arts. And, well, we don't really need more football. We're class at the minute.
That is true. Joe, who have you got?
I have noted down 3. I did a little bit of homework when you teed me up. I'll get Big Joe out of the way because I did have him on my list. However, I went kind of the opposite. So I've said that Big Joe is going to complete his full transformation into the Hulk. So he's actually going to get more brutal in
Great.
his resolution, which I think is more realistic, I'll be honest.
Yeah, probably.
I put Trips down. He needs to stop being a naughty boy. We'll just leave it at that. And then he might, off the pitch.
See, I completely neglected that because I was going to say he needs to stop going out into Jesmond and thinking he's a student. But
just needs to chill out a bit.
Just on the side note of Trips, we are assuming that the rumours are true, obviously, aren't we? We don't.
I mean,
it's not been.
He's a footballer,
right?
Yeah.
I just really love Trips. I'm going to feel really disappointed if this is what he's been doing.
He's a bit rogue, though, isn't he? Come on.
If only you were 10 years younger, Nick.
What is Trips?
She's going to deck you in a minute.
I'm going to deck you through the screen. I've got my whole heart. I love him. Oh, poor Trips. Anyway,
and I had one more, so I will move on from Trips again because that's all assumptions. And Eddie Howe. So I think Eddie Howe is going to make a New Year's resolution to calm down a bit because he did swear a few times in 2024, and it's just not befitting to his character. So he needs to start chilling out a bit because he's went a bit wild.
I love that. I actually had Jason Tyndall down. His New Year's resolution was soon to control his temper because he can get a bit of a temper, as we all know. I think he's got that. And then who else to say? Oh, I said Miggy, even though he's not really been playing for us, obviously, recently. I said to start using both his feet. because
Yeah.
he forgets he's got another one. And Nick Pope is going to be working on staying where he's supposed to play, which is in goal, not halfway down the pitch. So that's what I've put down for him. So yeah, but obviously he's injured, so let's hope he's working on staying fit. So the whole team has just got a whole New Year's resolution.
Pretty much, yeah.
Any others? Have you guys, or are you all done? Is all New Year's resolutions out?
Yeah, I only thought 3. I'm not going to lie.
I think we're all good. I mean, to be fair, at least with the Miggy one, we're probably not going to have to worry about that with him potentially moving back to the Americas. But I mean, if he does leave, he's had a good run. I mean, we've seen both feet used once or twice.
He has.
Speaking of potentially him going, just whilst we're here, I just got a notification on Twitter that there is now rumours that Dubravka potentially will be leaving at some point in January.
Well, I hope Pope's fit, because
so I hope
that's my only concern there.
Yeah, my only we might as well just focus on this a little bit. It's literally just come through saying, I think it's a Saudi Arabia team, which I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce.
Please do.
No, because I will absolutely destroy it. So they've reached a final agreement with Newcastle United and Martin Dubravka over his transfer. So this actually concerns me, because I feel like I've gone full circle with Dubravka, because I've gone from absolutely not really liking him to all of a sudden wanting him to be our number one, which is really bad. I love Nick Pope,
but he has been brilliant.
I feel like he's not put a foot wrong. He's 100% in, whereas in previous times I feel like he's either been committed or he's not really, and he's also said some quite rubbish things about us in the past when he's been obviously frustrated, which I can sort of understand but not understand at the same time. So
yeah,
if he does leave, where does that leave us then? Because obviously Nick Pope isn't back to full fitness yet, as far as we're aware, is he?
He's not. Is it? I
John
can't pronounce
Ruddy,
his name.
baby?
No, surely not.
No.
It's that Didas. I can't say his name. The Greek one. He's got to be the one to come in, hasn't he? Really, but I think. Oh, well, it wouldn't have been with you guys. Was it? I think it was with Ian and Kev. We talked about this because we're talking about like who would you go or who would you let go, contracts running out and all this sort of stuff. So obviously we touched on Dubravka, and I said like, yes, I would have seen him going. However, because of the Pope situation, I wondered whether that would still happen or whether we'd try and just keep a hold of him and potentially just lose out on a few million and let him go in the summer. I don't know. But now the rumours are getting stronger, as you've just pointed out, about him. So that's an interesting one to me, because I did say that even by the summer, by the way, I expect us to be looking for a new keeper.
Yeah.
Pope, unfortunately, just has not been the same since his injury. I don't think he's going to be the same. I think sometimes when it's in your head, which I think is what's happening here, he's got something in his head where he just won't make certain movements now, and it's bound to happen when you've had an injury.
Yeah, of course.
But we need better than that. If we're going to go on and push on like people talk about, we've got to have a better keeper. So I think, and I touched on the last one, that we will be getting a new keeper in the summer. However, it's just interesting what happens with him now in the summer, because we're making massive strides this season. Do we really risk it at the back and have it? He is pretty inexperienced. I know people are like, oh, he's a Greek international. Yeah, but he's not playing a lot in general, is more what I mean. Like, he's not getting a lot of game time at the minute. He's not. And I don't know, I haven't seen enough of him. Apart from the odd game for Greece, I really don't have much judgment on this guy. I can't say I hate him. I can't say I definitely don't love him.
No, I'm the same.
I don't know. I don't know if you guys have got any other feelings or all, but...
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's a weird one, because the last 4 games, although we've kept clean sheets and, Dubravka's looked good, all he's had to do is pass the ball, really. He's not really had many saves to make. I can think of one good one against Brentford in the Cup. When he's been called upon, he has been fantastic, but he's kept 4 clean sheets and made 4 saves. So, realistically, if that's what our goalkeeper's going to be required to do, we might as well just end up signing a keeper that's good with his feet and just, trying to be like maybe what Man City are, where, Edison, you can make the odd mistake when it comes to saving a shot, but you can, you're basically Ronaldinho in goalkeeper form. So let's just keep that. But I think with Dubravka, I think it'll be sad to see him go. He's obviously done a lot for the club. I remember his debut against Man United, and he was absolutely fantastic. Pope, as you say, it reminds me of Shea Given. After he got that bad injury, I think it was Marlon Harewood that injured him. Either way, it was a striker in claret. That's all I can remember. But yeah, I think Pope will be remembered well as well. But realistically, we do need a new goalkeeper because if we're starting Martin Dubravka, who realistically probably should have been gone 2 seasons ago, over Odysseys, who's the most expensive goalkeeper we've ever bought, clearly he's not that good, and we are going to need to buy another one in the summer probably.
I'm a little bit, not maybe concerned, a bit of a strong word, but if them rumours are getting a bit stronger, then that is, well, something for us to keep our eye on, I guess. But I'm the same. I really do like Nick Pope, but he's just not been the same since his first injury. And you don't want, or I guess need, someone like that playing for you that can be quite hesitant. Also, that's quite dangerous as well for himself, never mind people around him. So, so let's hope that we're in sort of line for a new keeper. However, I do just want to give Dubravka a shout out because I do think he has fully stepped up when he's been needed to, particularly this last month or so. So he has done a job. But anyway, I think we'll leave part 1 there and we'll go to advert number 1, which is going to be read out by Joe, hopefully all in one piece.
Hey, I'm back on form now. Have you not been listening? Ever since my complete screw up. But I will do it. Watch, this is where I'm going to trip up again, isn't it? So here at Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out the clear winner with 4K video recording from your phone in AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs. It's super easy to start a podcast, it sounds great, and it's delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr.
Lovely. In one piece. She made it. She made it. Right. Welcome back to part 2. My iPad's completely froze, so everything I was going to speak about has gone. That's great. Welcome back to part 2, where we'll start previewing the Spurs game. So we are probably the best we've been for a long time, sitting pretty in 5th, which looks good. We are about to face, may I add, just early kickoff on Saturday, and we are about to face a very Spursy Spurs team. Is the way I'm going to describe that, because I've never seen a team like it. We are about to face a team where their manager is absolutely adamant that in his second year he wins a trophy. I mean, I know they're still in the Carabao Cup, but their Premier League campaign isn't as quite convincing. So we'll see how that goes for him. Anyway, I thought we'll touch on how we're feeling going into the Spurs game after our last 4 or 5 games. Anything that we think potentially we may face against Spurs. Obviously, we are away now. I know we've kind of sort of shown that we can play away. Obviously, Old Trafford, huge win, but notoriously we do struggle away more so than we do at home. So, Joe, you first. How are we feeling going into Saturday, early kickoff, and off we go to Tottenham? How are you feeling about it?
I'm a lot better after the 2 wins at Ipswich and Man U, I've got to be honest. And I think, if I'm honest, I'm hoping the team feel that way as well. I think we really needed that, especially the Ipswich win. Ironically, I know where you're at, by the way, with the Man U win. But I think the Ipswich one was so pivotal, especially completely dominating them. Probably should have won about 8-0, ironically. But then again, we should have won about 5-0 at Man U. But isn't that just amazing anyway, the fact that those 2 away games have been so dominant? So they've got to have their tails up, absolutely full of confidence. And like you say, Spurs are so Spursy that you never know which version of them is going to turn up. Let's hope the lesser version of the Spursy Spurs. But I don't overly fear them because of that. Again, if we can go into this game, as we have with the last 2 games, I'm absolutely confident that we can turn them over quite easily. As I have said with the other games, and which has happened quite a lot recently, which is great, to get an early goal will always kind of it'll kind of scare the other team. And I said that about Man U. Because I think Ian said something about if they score first, something, whatever. I said, if I'm honest, I think if we score first, that's so important, not just because it's the first goal, that they really will get scared. Man U are in absolute disarray at the minute. Spurs are kind of all over the place. They're in 11th place, I believe, about 8 points behind us, I think. So again, it is just something that, it's weird because it's like, because it's expected, sometimes you think, oh, we just, now will it flop for us? Because that was my fear going in the Man U game. We were so much like the Man U, was the underdogs, when usually it would be us that would be classed as the underdogs. As a Geordie, and let's get real, we've been through enough over the years that sometimes you just get that thing of, sometimes I like being the underdog. Sometimes I don't want the full expectation on us to win. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah.
But the
100%.
lads did their job, didn't they, man? Magnificently. And you've got to have all the confidence in the world, and I hope they do as well. And that's the way I feel about this next match, I've got to be honest.
Yeah, I completely agree. Because I mean, we're coming off the back of a really strong sort of December, and obviously, arguably, and other teams would disagree, and I've seen it all over social media, and I'm putting it down to just sheer jealousy, to be honest. We've probably got the strongest midfield currently in the league, in my opinion. I know there's probably other teams that would disagree with that. Arguably the best striker in the league, by the way, in the league, and I'll also argue the best left back in the league. Because he is doing a phenomenal job. And I said that at the beginning of the season when we did our predictions, that I feel like he would have a cracking season. And I feel like the lads need to go into the game confident. I mean, just looking at Tottenham's sort of last couple of fixtures, they got beat 6-3 by Liverpool. They then got beat 1-0 on Boxing Day by Forest. They also had a red card, as in Spurs had a red card. And then their most recent game, they drew against Wolves. Now, I really like Wolves as a team, but they are struggling. That should not be a team that Spurs are, I guess, struggling. I mean, I know we said it before, we shouldn't write off the lower league teams, but for a Spurs side of the players they have, they should not be struggling. Michael, how are you feeling going into that? Sorry, I just blabbered on for no reason whatsoever.
It's all right, don't worry. No, this is never a good thing, by the way, but I was confident for Man United, so maybe it's changing. But I'm really confident. I think you look at that Spurs back line, which I know I'm probably getting my head of myself, but that's likely to be Jed Spence, Archie Gray, Dragusin, and Pedro Porro. Pedro Porro's the only one that's a starter there.
Yeah.
Oh, and Fraser Forster's at the back, by the way, and he wasn't good enough to be our number 2 in his prime.
I find that bizarre,
behind
I'll be
Tim Krul.
honest.
So
Yeah.
it's insane, and he can't play with his feet. We saw against Man United, we saw against Ipswich, we've seen it against Villa, we've seen it against everyone this season since the blip ended. If your goalkeeper can't play out from the back and your back 2 can't play out from the back, yet you decide to play out from the back, which Big Ange always is, it's what we do, mate.
He loves it.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those things. Newcastle are going to demolish you. Isaac will get probably at least 2, and I genuinely think it'll be a high-scoring game because Spurs, that front three is fantastic. Son Heung-min, Kulusevski, and Dominic Solanke. But I genuinely can't see us scoring less than 2, let's say, if I'm being generous. I think it could be 3 or 4 easily. And I think Spurs at the moment... Unfortunately, I love Big Ange. I think he's a great character, and I think he's one of the characters that the league needs. Yeah. But if he's not prepared to play a little bit more defensively against Newcastle, we are going to tear them apart, just like Liverpool did. That Liverpool game could have been 7-1.
Yeah,
Spurs were really clinical.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I really like Big Ange, and I don't know why. I think it's just his personality and the way he talks back to... well, everyone that comes in his path, to be honest. I think he is funny, and he's got a sense of humour that I think, like you say, Michael, the league needs. However, me and Tyler, so my partner, were having this conversation. It might have been the Liverpool game, because as we know, Tyler supports Liverpool. So when obviously Liverpool beat them 6-3, he was buzzing. But with all the focus that's been on, say, Man City's downfall and the Man United, whatever that's happening there. So the Manchester era is obviously coming down. Do we think Ange has gone a little bit under the radar with some of the results that has been sort of happening for him? Because there's been no talk about him, as far as I've seen on the sports channels and on social media. There probably has from Spurs fans and all the Spurs socials, but I don't follow them because I don't support them. So do we think he's gone a little bit under the radar with maybe a little bit of pressure? We've seen it with Eddie Howe. He had a couple of bad results and the pressure mounted on him straight away. So do we think Ange has gone a little bit...
I would agree completely.
Yeah. Sorry, my signal jumped completely.
No, sorry. I know it was jumping about there. I didn't know when to start talking.
Okay, stop talking.
You're all right. But you bang on, really, because I think they would be getting hammered a lot. But do you not get the impression that it's become such a running joke about Spursy being Spursy that sometimes they now just don't get hammered because they're expected to?
Because they're
Isn't
just
it like ridiculous? It's ridiculous, though, isn't it? Like they can be absolutely brilliant one game and then be absolutely awful because it's Spursy. Like it's just everyone's
First thing
like,
to
oh
do.
well, it's Spursy. It's fine. They'll probably smash the next game. Then they'll be crap again. It's so bizarre, I think, because it is just becoming a running joke across every team about Spurs. I mean, obviously they laugh at themselves. We all laugh at them. So yeah, I think the downfall of both the Manchester clubs has taken. I think it's taken a lot away from everything else. By the way, because I think
I
everyone's
agree.
just so obsessed with Man U and Man City that I think anything else could happen in the league, and they'd still want to talk about Man U and Man City, which they like to after our win the other day. Because apparently, even though I was doing a pod, my dad came to report over the top of the laptop while I was going like that. He was going, you came raging in. He was just like, they've talked about Man U for 25 minutes. I haven't even spoke to Eddie. They've spoke to him, and I was like going, and I had to like mute the microphones. Ian's like chatting away, and I'm like, for God's sake, man. But I see his point. Like, they're so obsessed with talking about, especially the Manchester clubs, a bit of the London clubs as well, which is why I think Spurs are lucky to not be talked about. But you're right. I think it's totally that. It's just become a Spursy thing and it's almost ignored. It's bizarre.
Yeah. Michael, do you feel the same?
Yeah, I do agree. I think the weird thing with Tottenham at the moment, to be honest, I'm not sure how far this has stretched back, but it definitely has under Ange. They don't draw games. They either win or they lose. And they're the second top goal scorers in the league behind Liverpool. They score a lot of goals. And they don't actually concede that many. I think they've only conceded a couple more than Man City, which actually isn't the stat you would think it is. But, so on paper, they're not doing too bad, but it's games like the Forest game where they just struggle to create. And I think if teams sit back against Tottenham, they can't break them down. It's a bit like what we were struggling with at the start of the season. If they play a counter-attacking side, they struggle. And it's why last year we battered them, because we went, all right, you can attack. As soon as you do, we've got Gordon running down the left, Isak running in behind. You can't handle it. And it's all right when you've got Romero and Van de Ven, but Spurs' injury problems are probably the worst this season out of anyone. And I think that's maybe why Postecoglou's got a bit of leeway, should we say. But I think if they get battered against us and they lose a couple more games, well, they lose the first leg against Liverpool, which is the next game after that.
Oh, yeah, of course it is.
I think he could be sacked. I think he genuinely could be sacked before.
Yeah.
But I don't know who else would actually be. Everyone else has pulled the plug. So yeah, he's next.
Well, the United manager might be the first one as well. You never know. They don't give them much time anymore. Yeah, literally. A new record, right? Right, I think we'll leave part 2 there. So, Michael, I believe you're going to read out the next advert for me, please.
Yes. The Global Sports Podcast Network is changing the face of football podcasting with dedicated daily content for every Premier League team, women's football, fantasy football, and a daily Premier League wrap-up, broadcasted in 5 different languages. This is your one-stop shop for your daily football fix. Find GSPN wherever you find your usual podcasts.
That was beautifully read. Thanks, Michael. That was very
thank you.
Passionate.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Right. I think we spent far too much time talking about Spurs. So let's talk.
We're involved at the weekend.
Let's not.
We're going there. Yeah, we're going. So let's move on to our favourite thing in the world. Our men, our boys, us. Yeah, yeah. Eddie Howe. So we've obviously just covered off how we're feeling going into Saturday, and I guess we're all feeling confident. The general feeling on social media is everyone thinks we're going to batter them. So I really hope the early kickoff curse that seems to just surround the early kickoff in general goes our way. Anyway, right. How are we thinking Eddie will, I guess, line up and attack the game? Because personally, for me, I think the only change obviously is a forced one, which we covered off before we started, which would be obviously Mr. Shah is obviously suspended for this one. So obviously there will be a forced change at the back. However, I do think it will remain unchanged from the rest of the lads. Who do we think is going to be coming in for Mr. Shah? Do we think we're going to see a Lloyd Kelly, or is Emil Kraft still injured? He is, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's got to be Kelly,
unfortunately.
surely.
It's going to be Kelly, isn't it then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Joe, how are we feel? How do you think the rest of the lineup will go?
Well, a bit differently to you.
Oh.
That's not how I think it'll go, by the way. No, it's all right. This mainly comes off the back of a conversation I had with my dad. We like to, analyse everything. So we obviously talked about the Spurs game stuff yesterday when I was around there.
Mhm.
But he made a good point, and I absolutely agree. I would make some changes for this game.
Yeah.
As in, I'd bring Barnes in for Gordon. Kelly, I do believe, will be in for Shea. Listen to me. Hear me
I'm
out.
listening. Sorry, I'm listening.
Yeah. Because I think we can afford to. Because Barnes, all right, Gordon is better than Barnes. But he's not a massive downgrade putting Barnes in for Gordon. And I'm just thinking about the amount of games our guys are playing at the minute. I'm thinking about giving him a rest because I'd rather Gordon be better for the Arsenal game. Fitter, sorry. Fresher, whatever you want to call it.
Fresh legs.
Yeah. So I would 100% make that change. I'd bring Willock in. Oh, I'd make a few changes, I'd bring Longstaff in as well. No, it's not going to happen because Eddie doesn't do this. But I really would, because I think we can still dominate at Spurs whilst making a few changes, whereas I think Arsenal will be a tougher game away. That's why I'd rather the team, as we've just won at Man U, is like that in place for the Arsenal game than it is for the Spurs game. I think it's an easier win if we just make some changes. I don't think Eddie will, but the thing is, he's got to use the squad he's got. We haven't got the injury problem, that we've had last season. We've got to now utilise some of our players. We've got great players on the bench like Barnes, like Willock.
Yeah.
Play them. This is a game that these guys can attack very well. Michael, you've just talked about their back line. Barnes can tear apart their back line. Willock's speed can tear apart their back line. Why not bring these guys in? Give the other guys a rest. Have them on the bench, give them half an hour maybe, give them less than half an hour if I'm honest, the likes of Gordon. But seriously, I would try and attack this game really quickly, try and get some early goals, and if possible, bring Isak off quite early as well, because you need him to be fresh for Arsenal.
Yeah, apparently, Arsenal are obsessed with him, so I'm hoping he does go there with fresh legs. Do you know, the change I would probably make is trips. Although I've just banged on about how much I love trips. Maybe
no Tino in for trips as well.
I would actually bring Tino in for trips. Because I think this would be a really good game for Tino. And then obviously if we get a really good hold on the game, like we did against United within the first sort of half an hour, at half time, I would then expect, I know it wouldn't happen, but I would expect Eddie to then make a handful of changes. I do think, obviously, and in my opinion, I think, and I would keep it how it was for United, particularly that middle three, because, unreal and so dominating. So I think that's probably how it would go. But interesting to see that you would make those changes. I like that. Michael, do you agree? Disagree?
Yeah, I'd keep it exactly the same. I do agree there should be some rotation at some point. I'd potentially argue going a little bit more defensive and maybe not starting a Gordon, and maybe starting someone, it's hard to say exactly who, maybe playing Lewis Hall a little bit further forward at the Emirates. It's a 2-leg fixture. Let's get away from the Emirates with a result, or at least just a 1-goal deficit, because if they come to St. James's Park and they've only got a 1-goal lead or something like that, they're going to crap their pants and will 100% be the better team. After that the weekend, we've got Bromley at home. And then it's Wolves in midweek, I think, on the Wednesday.
Yeah.
So 2 easier games at home. I do agree there should be rotation, but I'd personally leave it for after Spurs, because as good as we are and as Spursy as Spurs are, they can also cause a few shocks. They've beaten City twice this year, which again isn't actually that much of a shock, beating City these days. I should probably stop referencing City, but they've beaten City twice this season and they've looked good both times. They do try and turn it on for bigger games, and I think they'll be right up for it after we humiliated them multiple times recently.
Do you not think the couple of changes I've suggested would be, because I don't think I'm being too out there personally, putting the likes of Willock and Barnes in, because as I say, it was more off the back of what you said about their back four, to be fair, because I still think we could absolutely smash Spurs and just have our other ones fresher for Arsenal. Do you feel like we would rotate more against Arsenal? Probably more my question back to you there.
I think
Or not?
tactically I would go more against Arsenal, although the Arsenal is the game that realistically we probably should prioritise. We haven't won a cup in so long, but at the same time, if we get Champions League next season, it's a question of, would you value the Champions League over the cup, etc. So it's a really difficult question, and it's a conundrum Eddie Howe's going to have to answer. But I personally would. The changes aren't outlandish, but I think it's one of those where make the changes early on against Spurs when we're 1 or 2 ahead, rather than let them. If it's 0-0 at half time, I'd fear that Spurs might actually beat us. If we start fast and we start strong, then we smash them. But I think the longer the game goes without us, stamping our authority on the game, I think that's where we'd struggle. And I think if you make too many changes, you risk disrupting that momentum. It shouldn't.
I know
but
what you're saying.
It's just one of those.
I'm just worried that he doesn't make a change on either game, because we know what Eddie's like. He loves this consistency, and it's great to have consistency, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But we've just talked about how many games we've literally got in a row. Obviously, Bromley expect half the team to be changed, at a bare minimum, by the way, if not the whole team.
Yeah, I agree.
But then you go straight into Wolves in midweek and then Bournemouth the weekend after. So we're not having a break, really. So I do expect some rotation in Spurs or Arsenal. Surely you can't expect the same team in both. That's the only reason I was kind of slightly picking out the Spurs game personally.
No, I like how you've picked. I didn't even think of it, to be fair. I always just think strongest team out, because obviously we want to secure Champions League, and obviously we want to, like
all of it,
get to all of it, don't we? We want to get to a cup. But you are right in saying that players do need a rest. I think what will happen is he will stay the same, because I think that's just the Eddie Howe thing to do. Other than, like we said, Fabian Schär obviously won't be there. And if we get a good grip of the game early on, I think we could probably expect to see a handful of changes earlier than what Eddie would normally make.
Yeah.
That's what I think might, because I'm going to be honest, I think we're going to absolutely smash them. I've just got a feeling that we're going to embarrass them a little bit, which I'm all here for. So that leads me nicely into our score predictions. So I will come to you, Joe, first. What are we saying?
Shall we predict for the other two? Just a bit like we did the other day and got it massively wrong, by the way, when me and Ian did it. But we'll put the other two people forward first. So I reckon Ian's going to stick with his normal of 3-1, because that's just dead easy, isn't it? For Ian to have that.
Yeah.
So we'll do that and push that out of the way. I think we need to think about Kev. We'll let him wait.
Okay.
I'll say 4-1. Because I'm feeling pretty confident, but I do think they'll sneak one. You're going to take it.
Yeah, I'll go for something different.
5-1. Have 5-1.
No. Right, you're going 4-1. Ian 3-1, because that's just the Ian thing to do, and that's written in the book. Michael?
I think we're going to win 4-2.
Oh,
sorry
okay.
if we were going to nick that next, but yeah, I think they'll get 2 consolation goals. We'll smash them early doors like we did Man United, and we'll just, foot off the pedal. Because you got to remember, second half against Man United as well, we weren't even out of second gear. It was embarrassing for them.
We weren't. And I just think we went out of second gear, but I also just think it shows how poor Man United actually really are, because the old Man United would have took advantage of that.
Maybe.
So I do think we went out of second gear, but it did highlight how actually poor Man United are. I've not seen a Man United side like this in years, by the way. It's
so sad, isn't it?
So heartbreaking.
I cry every time.
I am going to, because now both my scores have been taken. Right, I am going to go for a 3-0. I'll go for a nice little 3-0. That's what I'm going to go for. Yeah. And Kev's going to go out there, isn't he? What do we think Kev will go for?
Really? You think? I thought Kev would go for like a 2-0.
5-1? 2-0?
2-0. I think
we'll go 5-1.
Yeah. No, we'll go. Oh, okay. What do we go for?
I'm happy for 5-1.
Kev for 5-1.
Well, to be fair though, I said he would say 3-0 against Man U, but didn't he say 2-1? So he was much more reserved than I thought he was going to be. So Michael actually is probably more right than me shouting 5-1 and all this sort of stuff.
He just puts it on for the podcast. It's fine.
He's just a big liar.
Okay, we'll go with Kev 2-0 then. Maybe he will be a bit more reserved.
Oh.
Sometimes he's a little bit more. What's the word?
Outlandish.
Yeah, I mean, compared to me, I'm just like, we're going to smash them 6-0. No, I'm joking. Right, that brings us to the end of the pod. So thank you both for joining me today. It's been a pleasure as always. And thank you everyone for listening. And we will be back on Monday with a brand new episode after hopefully beating Spurs on Saturday. So speak to you all soon. See you later.
Bye.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.